Zantz, joined by my co-host Steven Russo. It's been a long time, sir. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Life gets in the way, but we're here early June. Draft in the books, schedule release is out, and OTAs are here, man. So I'm doing good. How are you? Let's check in on Steven after the Knicks conference championship loss. How you doing, man? You doing okay there?
Yes. So it's funny. My father-in-law asked me the same thing. He was worried about me, and my dad was worried about me too. And they both were. I'm like, I'm fine. After they blew game one, I was fine. It just is
Yeah.
what it is. And then I mentally prepared that they would win game five and lose game six. So I've been
Yeah.
okay. But we're not here to talk about the sad Knicks, even though they gave me probably the most joy I've had of any team that I root for in a long time. Even like
Yeah.
if I'm a Yankees fan, it just wasn't as enjoyable when they went to the World Series as this Knicks run. We got to talk Jets, man. That's what we do here. And I know
I
there's a
know.
lot of people who are wondering where we are, specifically our boy Kevin. So we're doing this for Kevin and all the people that care about us and wish that they can hear us talk Jets. So we got to start off with Justin Fields. I think we did one or two shows right after they signed him, or when they were like on the verge of signing him. It seems like he's looking pretty good in OTAs. Which what does that really mean? But like, how are you feeling about this move now that basically all the offseason moves have been completed? I know like nothing's really gonna matter until the games actually count. But like, how are you feeling about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I thought it was a good move. I thought it was a good low risk, high reward move for a new regime coming in, right? I still think you have to feel pretty good about having Tyrod Taylor there as a backup because even if the Jets didn't get Justin Fields, you would have felt okay with Tyrod as your long-term starter pending injury, right? Like that's always the risk with Tyrod. And now that he's 35 or 36, whatever he's going to be. But Fields in particular, you kind of feel like he got a bit of a raw deal in Chicago, like he got a bit of a raw deal in Pittsburgh, even though he showed flashes, had them at a 4-2 start before they went, back to Russell Wilson. So you feel like this is kind of the move that is good for this team right now. And I think when you take that kind of holistic look at everything, that top line approach, like I wasn't enamored with this quarterback class. I wasn't enamored with the free agent quarterback class. So I feel like this was kind of the one and only move that the Jets could have made that would have made you feel pretty good about the quarterback position going into 2025. And they did it. And I think it's exactly what needed to happen. I mean, the Jets have never really had a quarterback that was a dual threat like this. I mean, you maybe Geno 2013, 2014, but to this level, like definitely not. So to know or to think about what he could do in an offense with the mind of Tanner Eggstrand coming from that Ben Johnson tree, it gives you hope, I think. And I think it's going to be run heavy, certainly with the three back approach and Justin Fields, obviously. And I think they're going to pepper Garrett Wilson with targets. So it'll be interesting to see, but I feel like it was the one and only move that they really could have made, and they made it. And I'm encouraged. I mean, as all Jets fans are, we're cautiously optimistic, but I'm not going to say it's perfect,
No,
but I feel
there's
like you,
flaws.
you feel as good as you could feel with this. I mean, what are your thoughts overall?
I
And
mean,
I don't want
obviously,
to put too much stock in OTAs, right? You never want to do
yeah,
that.
and
Like
you and
it's
I never really, yeah, we never do that. I think that you and I have, we start to guard ourselves the older we get when we watch this team, which is like, I'm not going to get myself too excited until there's like really a reason to get excited. I feel like the Knicks have shown me that's like I used to get teased by them when they would, make the playoffs and they didn't do anything. But like with the Jets, I obviously just want to see competence. I want to see improvement. I want them to grow, especially with a lot of the young players that they have. But in terms of Fields, it was the right button to push given they didn't really have a lot of options, like you said. Like the draft wasn't a good class. There weren't really good free agent options, and he was probably the best one outside of Darnold, I would say. I mean, it's just, and obviously Geno was moved, but he wasn't a free agent. And it's just, I think it's just interesting because it's like we're in a place where we don't really have that young quarterback that they've sunk a draft pick into at this point. So he's kind of like that, but like they're really not tied to him. I know obviously it's financially, more strapped if they paid him again in the next year, but like 15 million or whatever for a quarterback in this modern NFL, it's like barely, it's like a high level backup at this point because usually if a guy's any good, he's making it closer to 30 million per year. So it's good. I mean, I'm excited. I think the dynamic of his running ability is fun. That's just like something that'll be more entertaining on Sundays because it seems like they're only going to play on Sunday based on schedule release. Maybe they'll get a one game flex at some point, but I think the chemistry with Garrett Wilson is really fun. I think that like that can maybe like unlock him in ways that we haven't seen because they have that historical connection from their time at Ohio State. But yeah, I'm not like my expectations aren't super high, but I also think it just will be a lot more entertaining and not and less of the as Joe would like to say, the AAU team that we saw at the end of
Mhm.
last year, which is really miserable to watch. So it's exciting, but again, cautious optimism at this point.
Yeah, you temper expectations, but I think the phrase that Connor and Joe use a lot, which I really love, is you really want to just see them kind of punch above their weight class. And I think
Yeah,
the blend of this coaching staff and this young core and Justin Fields, I think it gives them that ability each and every week, right? Justin Fields has the ability to go off for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground every week, doesn't matter what defense he's playing. So like that kind of he has that ability to have that outlier game that will enable you to beat a team that's maybe, a class better than you are. And that's really all you're hoping for. Steal a few games here and there and see what it could turn into. And who knows, maybe you're, 9-7 or 8-8 at the end of the year fighting for a playoff spot.
yeah. I mean, that would be awesome given what we've been watching and how far they've been from that. I know like 7-10 was like their magic number for 2 years before they went 5-12 this past year. I just want to be like season not to be over by Halloween. That's been
Mhm.
like it's sad that that's the standard that we want at this point. And it's just that that's what they've given us, and it's just we want to see this team to be competitive and playing for something of substance come December. Like, can I enjoy Jets football post Thanksgiving? That'd be really nice, but I just want to see growth, and I want to see how this coaching staff, is because it's a newer staff. Obviously, there's young offensive coordinator. I would say Glenn isn't a young head coach per se because he's in his 50s, but obviously he's a
Mhm.
rookie head coach. Steve Wilkes is a veteran. I think the defense will be humming. He's also a good defensive coordinator, so I was really excited about that hire. But I do want to shift to two of the main young stars that we have. There's obviously been conversations, and apparently they said, I think it was on Jake Asman show, he was saying that contracts have been offered to both Sauce and Garrett. So my question to you is, do you think that either of them, both of them, or none of them will be extended before training camp, or even during training camp for that matter?
I think both of them before the season. Yeah, I think every sign points that way. The fact that Muji has alluded to it, the fact that Aaron Glenn says it's our job to keep good players here. Like you want to draft good players and keep them in house. I mean, all signs are pointing to that. You have Garrett coming out and saying that he wants to be a Jet for life. Like those are all things that are pointing in the right direction. And I do, um, I think it's important for that. Like when you're building a young culture and you see what Aaron Glenn is really trying to do, and he's laying a foundation and he's building it the right way. And the next step in that process is to keep and extend guys like Garrett and
Yes.
Sauce. I mean, Garrett is a lights out receiver. He has the chance to be the best Jets receiver of all time if he truly is here for his career, or even if he's just here for the next, 5 years. He really does have a chance to be the best Jets receiver ever. And Sauce already in a young 3-year career as a 2-time All Pro, both of which, Garrett and Sauce were rookie of the years. Like those guys are not guys that you let go. So I feel like it's given me no reason to think it should go south or it should go otherwise. I feel like all signs are pointing to them both being done before the season starts. And that's honestly how I would like it. I do think that, with Garrett, he is what he is, man. He's been consistent. He's been just excellent in the locker room, like excellent person. And all with like even the way that last season ended and kind of how it shook out with the Aaron and Devontae show, still managed to produce. Sauce, did he have a down year? Yeah, but I think he kind of came back towards the end of the year, and you can't just discount 2 All-Pro seasons in your first 2 years. So
It's
those are
crazy.
guys that need to be here, need to be Jets for life, and I feel like it has to get done. So what are your thoughts, man? Do you think it?
I think one of them will be, and I think it'll probably be Garrett because I think
Mhm.
Garrett obviously has been good 3 straight years, whereas Sauce was really good the first two, and obviously was a more down year. Even though I was frustrated with him. I think it was just the tackling issues that he's had, which was frustrating. Obviously, he wasn't the shutdown guy that we saw from rookie and sophomore years. But I do think that they will ultimately have both of them long term, unless there's something crazy that happens this season. But I feel like with the program and the kind of guy that Aaron Glenn is, I feel like he resonates well with them. Former player, I think that that's something that we talked about during the whole coaching search. That was something that really will resonate with players like these guys. Someone's been through war, been through the trenches, just like them. It's more appealing and more attractive. I believe Garrett said in one of his pressers after OTAs, whenever he was available to the media, that he basically wants to be a Jet for life. So like that, yeah, I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things. I remember Jamal Adams had stuff like that, and obviously that soured really quickly. But I don't want to compare the two of them. I'm just saying that it's something to keep in mind. But I do think he wants to be here. I think he enjoys, being in this market. I think he is really happy with the quarterback that they're going with now. Finally, somebody that he has a relationship with from years back playing in college. But in terms of Sauce, I do think that people have been overlooking him a little bit because of the down season. And when I say down, it was just down for his standards. It's like when you go first team All Pro 2 years in a row and you're defensive rookie of the year, anything you're going to do that's below that is going to look like it's a down year. And obviously, the defense was just not nearly as good, from the previous 2 seasons as it was, last year. So I get the frustration from the fan base, but I would not bail on this guy, especially with a coach like AG, whose literally specialty is working with defensive backs. So I do anticipate him to bounce back big, and I really hope that it helps. It results in him getting a brand new contract.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Aaron Glenn, being a corner, right, and one of the greatest corners for the Jets ever, but being a 5'9" corner, probably envious of that Sauce height and length, right? So he's probably going to be a little bit tougher on Sauce, but look to him as a leader on that defense, like a blossoming leader. And I can see him taking him under his wing and pushing him a little bit harder. I also probably think that they're going to have Sauce travel, which is,
Thank
not
God.
what Saleh and Ulbricht's defense ever did. I mean, they kind of stuck to their guns and, good or bad, would stick to their plan and not really waver from it. So I expect Sauce to kind of have a bounce back and a bigger year. And I would think that he'd be the kind of guy that didn't want to lock in here and keep long term. And I do think you're right. The down year, but I think even outside of the Jets world, right, he kind of got some hatred. I know here in Central New York, I'm surrounded by Bills fans. I know they think he holds on every play and gets away with everything. So I think he's just under a microscope a little bit, and I think that'll happen when you come out and have 2 hot years, right off the rip of success, and all the eyes are on you. So everything is going to get just a little more scrutinized with every play you make. So I think there's probably some justified, but some unjustified kind of hatred from the rest of the fan bases out there too.
Yeah, I mean, when you win defensive rookie of the year and there's a lot of media attention
Yeah.
being on the Jets, of course that's going to happen. That's going to happen if we ever develop a quarterback to a franchise guy. That guy's going to get so much crap from other fan bases. It's just what comes to the territory of being successful in New York City. Jalen Brunson literally gets so much crap from other fan bases about
Yep.
his foul baiting and everything. That's just what happens. So
Exactly.
he's
I'd love to
essentially
have that problem. Yeah.
same great problem to have. When you become successful in anything, you will have haters, and it's just a victim of your own success. So,
Yep.
Sauce, I expect to bounce back, and I hope that you do get the contract. I was frustrated throughout the season, but I know that I've seen really good football from this guy, and I think with this coaching staff that's going to be intact, I think he'll bounce back. So,
I want to go back to the Garrett just comment on wanting to be a Jet for life. Like, I know
yeah.
typically you take kind of player speak and you take it with a grain of salt. I do put a little bit of more stock into that one though, just because of kind of the rumors that we heard the tail end of last season and the uncertainty. So him coming out and saying that, and like, it just, for me, maybe I'm looking too much into it. Maybe I'm looking at it as too, glass half full, but I do put a little bit more emphasis on that. And it puts him on firmer ground, like with me and with the Jets, obviously, because I feel like that means a little bit more, just knowing what the rumors were and how they were circulating towards the tail end of last year.
That's totally a fair counter. I just don't think that those rumors really had any credence at all. I feel like
You
people
might
were
be right.
just I just think that the team was so bad, people were just looking for things to talk about because the product on the field, there was just nothing to talk about. They were just awful and miserable to watch. So
Yeah.
I just think that
But
they were
if
looking.
Aaron and Devontae came back, would they be real? Because you can clearly, like, and from the outside looking in, you can see that he was the third wheel, right? Like, you could see that that's just how it was.
Which is like crazy though, because like a good quarterback wants to get everybody involved. Like, yes, there's certain guys who have their favorite targets, but like a good quarterback knows how to distribute the ball. But yes, that's a fair thing, but
Yeah.
it's not the world that we live in, so it doesn't really matter at this point.
Agreed.
Did you see that Aaron Glenn has a new motto? Did you see it?
I did not. What is it?
No block, no rock. I actually kind of like it. I feel like we shouldn't buy into these cliches that our coaches do, because the last time that we had all gas, no break, it
all
didn't
gas,
work.
no break. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just
It's leaves a little to be desired, but it's AG, so I like it. I'll roll with it. Let's see if it works and pans out.
But it makes you think that he cares more about the grittiness of players, and you have to earn your playing time by doing the little things. And I feel like he's all about the little things, the technique, the fundamentals of being a good football player at all positions. So I think that that's actually a good thing. So
yeah,
I just figured I'd bring it up just because it was something that actually came out today, and I was like, I
like
actually kind of like it.
No block, no rock. That's good.
Yeah. Um, I do want to move to the receiver just because this receiving core is pretty terrible outside of Garrett Wilson. Like, with all due respect to Arian Smith, who's just a speed guy who has drop issues, all due respect to Malachi Corley, Alan Lazard, Xavier Gibson. I don't even know if Brownlee's still on the team. What's his face? Josh Reynolds. Like, it's not great over there. So I got a couple of guys. I want to know your thoughts. What if they were to sign X player, and I'll give you the name. Just say, give me your a level of excitement, 1 to 10. So
Okay.
first being Gabe Davis.
4.
Okay. DJ Chark.
3.
Okay. These are better. Amari Cooper.
You know, I would have been like a 6 or 7, but even on that in that Bills offense that he could have had, I think, a lot more success in. He didn't really do much and didn't contribute at all. I'd probably still say a 5 for Amari Cooper.
Okay. And last but not least, Keenan Allen.
I like that one. I'd be probably like a 6 or a 7 on Keenan Allen. I don't like the injury history, but I do like just his game. And I feel like even as an older player, if he's healthy, he can still contribute. And that'd be like a good possession guy opposite Garrett. I would like that one.
Yeah. I mean, that's clearly the best option of the
Yeah.
bunch. But I was just curious how you would react. And
Yeah.
I agree with you about Amari Cooper. But you know what's just crazy with me? He was really, really good in 2023 with Joe Flacco
Yes.
down the stretch. And
He
then
went nuts.
the tires just
Yeah.
completely came off. It's weird. I guess that's just what happens in football. It's just eventually the body takes so many tolls. It's like
Yeah.
it falls off pretty quickly. So, no, I agree with you. I think I'm a little bit more intrigued by Gabe Davis, believe it or not. And I
I
liked
wouldn't
him
disagree with that.
I liked him in Buffalo. He's still young enough where I feel like maybe you could get something at him, but like, is he any worse than Alan Lazard at this point? I don't really think so. I think he's probably the same level of player, maybe slightly better. I mean, I'm not sure. I just think that he's better than a lot of the options that we have right now. So
Yeah, I don't disagree. I kind of feel like, and I've had this thought for a little while, like this kind of is giving me shades of 2009 vibes, right? Like going into this season, the Jets are going to have, we figure on, right, a strong offensive line, a heavy run game in rushing attack, right, with good running backs that they can do it with, one good wide receiver. And if you remember that year, they went in, they didn't have a rushing quarterback. It was obviously Mark Sanchez, as a rookie. But they started out 3-0, and then they got kind of manhandled by the Saints a little bit. And I think they realized, like, we have Jericho Cotchery and nobody else. Like, their second guy was Chancey Stuckey. And they go out and they make the trade that week. Trigger Mike makes a trade for Braylon Edwards to give Mark Sanchez another option, right? So I could kind of see them getting to that point because this does have that kind of feel, right? Ground and pound, good offensive line. You got a rushing quarterback this time, but good running backs and really one stud wide receiver. So if they find themselves in a pickle like that, where it's like we got Garrett and nobody else, and maybe Mason Taylor's not there yet, then maybe, who knows? Maybe they're a little more successful than we think in their first 5 or 6 games, and they Trigger Muji pulls one and gets someone on the trade block and brings a second receiver in here. But that's just kind of that's what my mind goes to when I think about this team and the lack of wide receiver action. I don't know.
all right. Well, I'm glad that you brought up the trade aspect because one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, would you trade a day 2 pick? And I would say a 3rd round pick for Kyle Pitts. I would.
Oof. High upside swing. I mean, yeah, day 3 pick. Yeah, I would do that.
No, day 2. I was
day 2 pick. Yeah, either a second or third rounder. Yeah, I would 100% take a swing on that. I mean, he's a 4th overall pick. He's a good receiver. I mean, you got to bank on the fact that maybe you could turn him into something that Atlanta hasn't been able to. So,
yeah,
would you do it?
Yes, 100%. I've always felt like he's just has been utilized to his full potential, and I think that when you he's been 1,000-yard receiver. Like, it's not the issue with him is he just wasn't catching touchdowns, but that could be a function of quarterback play. That's not necessarily the guy's fault. I mean, he's not really a good blocker, but Mason Taylor definitely is a much more adequate blocker than him, and that's the only reason that Jeremy Ruckert's still on the team is because he knows how to block. So. I think it's worth a swing. I don't think it's going to happen. I know there was one social media that teams were trying to see what they could get if they could get him, but apparently they're not giving him up. So we'll see. Going off of, we talked about Mason Taylor. Who was your favorite draft pick of this class?
Let's see. I honestly, I wasn't. Let's go through them, right? Membu, I felt like was chalk. I really liked that pick. I thought it was going to be him or Tyler Warren. So, but taking him off the board because I think solidifying the right tackle was just a great move. I like the Mason Taylor pick, but I like the Azaria Thomas pick. That I think round 3, that was my favorite one. Like a guy that was probably slated to go maybe, round 2, that you get value at round 3 simply because he didn't run well, but that is long, has the traits, right? Could be kind of a sneaky, who knows, maybe he cracks his way into the starting lineup at some point this season. Maybe he does it in training camp, who knows? But I kind of like that. I like the fact that they did it and it's Aaron Glenn's position. So you clearly think that he knows more about it. So that kind of high upside swing, a guy that probably fell a little bit further than he should have, just despite some combine stats. I end up liking that one. And I think that's probably of like the mid rounders, outside of round 1, that's probably my favorite. I don't hate the Arian Smith pick either. I think speed kills, and I like that. I like they took a guy that's different. The drops are obviously a concern, but I wasn't as down on that pick as I think a lot of other Jets fans were. But I'm going to stick to my guns and say Azaria Thomas, 3rd rounder. He was my favorite outside of Membo.
Okay,
You?
that's a fair one. He probably was mine as well, but like I also was really excited about Mason Taylor. It's just like it's pretty cool to have, even though Jason Taylor really was not known as a Jet, to have a guy whose whose father played for the Jets come and get drafted by the Jets, and now Jason Taylor has to kind of rock with us again. I just like that he's somebody that's super young and has a lot of room to grow, but is already like a decently like seasoned product. Like he just had a lot of responsibility in that LSU offense, and I just like that he has the ability to catch, but also can block as well. I mean, he's probably a better receiver than a blocker at this point, but I just think that like he's a serious player. He's probably going to start from day one. It's like, when do you think the Jets? I think the last time that they got a tight end in the draft that started from day one was Dustin Keller. Wouldn't you say
Yeah.
that was the case? That's a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah.
So, and there's plenty of guys that we all thought were going to be good, like Jason Morrow, who was horrendous. I'm trying to think of it. I mean, Herndon, I guess, started a little bit as a rookie, but that
Flashes.
fell off really quickly.
Yeah. Those last 4 games, him and Darnold looked incredible. And I couldn't believe that he completely flamed out in year 2.
I mean, we got a 4th-round pick for him, which was insane. I don't know
Yeah.
how that happened, but I guess Joe Douglas had some decent moves in his tenure. So
I
I
mean, it just the curse of the Jets round 2 pass catchers, right? Like you go back to Jason Morrow, Devin Smith, Stephen Hill. Even I remember being on this podcast, you, me, and we had Caparoso on, and we asked him, "Is Elijah Moore the guy that's going to break the round 2 pass catcher, streak?" And we all thought he was going to, and sure as hell, like he's done too. So
I'm
hopefully Mason Taylor can be the guy.
I think Connor Hughes said this earlier in the offseason that he thinks that he'll be good in Buffalo. Like something just doesn't make sense to me about why
Yeah.
he just fell off so much. I mean, I get it. He was definitely stunted by quarterback play with the Jets. I mean, he was only good when Zach Wilson wasn't playing. But the other thing that is interesting, and I guess Cleveland was a similar situation when Deshaun Watson was playing, he was not playing well. But even when Joe Flacco was on like that magical run, Elijah Moore wasn't doing anything either. So it's
Mhm.
really just I don't I don't know. Like he showed so much like flash and promise that like 1 month. I think it was like literally when Mike White became the quarterback, it was just a lot of fun with him, and he was like the best receiver in football for like 2 weeks. It was in fantasy wise.
Yeah.
No, he was not the best receiver in football. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, but I think
Mhm.
there's a lot more that we saw from him, and I didn't really understand it. But I don't know why we're talking about Elijah Moore. He hasn't been on the team in like 3 years.
Round 2 pass catcher. I can't not mention too the Malachi Moore pick. Like I felt like that was safe and good. And when you get a guy that's not great at anything but good at everything at a position of need at a program like Alabama, like
Yeah.
that gets a sign off from a guy like Brian Branch that was clearly, in Aaron Glenn's system and a key piece to that. That's a good pick. And I think he's got an opportunity to be a day 1 starter as a 4th rounder. He could be like, next Kerry Rhodes. Like Kerry Rhodes, the 4th or 5th round draft pick out of Louisville, came in, started day 1, was a great Jet safety for 4 or 5, 6 years. Like that's what you want. And that's on a larger scale. Like we talk about this, that's the stuff that should happen that normal teams do that the Jets used to do. You used to find guys that could just come in and start randomly because you found a gem in the 3rd or 4th round. Like it's been like first round or bust for this team for so long, and it's extremely frustrating. So hopefully they can finally reverse that curse.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see with this class. I felt like it was started off really good, and then obviously as the draft went on, I
Yeah.
wasn't a huge fan of some of their later picks. But again, you know, they're later round picks anyway. But like you said, the best teams in the NFL, the Eagles of the world, the Chiefs, they nail picks later in the draft, and the Jets just need to figure out how to do that. So we'll see with Muji. I mean, you know, it's we there's nothing, we can't make any judgments yet. Like we don't even know if Memba's any good. I mean, I hope he is. I was excited by the pick. It was the right pick. Like the offensive line has major potential to be one of the best in the league. I mean, it's so young, which is super fun to see. But I do want to ask you, because we're talking about the draft, but what was your overall favorite move from the offseason?
Can I say getting Aaron Glenn?
Yeah, why
I
not?
mean, I think
It's technically a move that they
it's
made, so yes.
yeah, I think the right, we got enamored with Mike Vrabel quickly, and then you learn that he's just using you and posturing to get the job that he ultimately wanted, which is fine. But to me, it kind of always felt like Glenn. And I think having a former player that was as good as he was for the green and white, wanting to have this job, like wanting to be here and knowing what it's like to be a Jet, knowing what it's like to build a thing from the ground up, to turn it around under a guy like Bill Parcells and to find a way to get sustained success, I think that speaks volumes. And if you're looking at the offseason as a whole, I feel like that has to be my favorite move, just because it gives them the best chance to really build this thing the right way and have a sustained winner and have success, somewhat early on and moving forward. And I think when you look at it like that, like it's got to be AG.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything countered from me on that, but mine was just the overall approach that they just are trying to build this thing slowly and steady. They're not
Mhm.
trying to overspend. I think NYJ Matt had a good tweet saying that's like, this is the quietest the Jets have been from January to May that I can remember. And I'm like, and it's perfect. It's exactly what I want. I want them to build in silence and just figure it out. Like it's the attention's off of them. We don't have to deal with all the primetime games and everybody making fun of us. LOL Jets. So I just think they're having a slow, methodical approach, and the hope is that they develop some players who they've brought in, and even some of the guys who've already been here. Maybe there's some untapped potential, but I also just think they've gotten rid of a lot of the rot that is from the previous regime, which is nice to see. I also saw that they've hired a bunch of analytics people. They've essentially went from a two-person department last year to six. I think that is forward thinking, and that's something that we've been asking from them probably for the past decade when analytics really became a bigger thing in football. So I just think it's the overall strategy of the organization, and they've actually given Aaron Glenn the keys to run everything how he sees fit, and ultimately just change the entire operation, because what was going on basically for the better part of 15 years was not working. So it was time to give someone the keys and build mold everything how they see fit. So I'm just excited. It's just a different era. It's a cleanse. We need to get away from that Jets era. It was not
I
great.
agree. I think Connor made a great point on one of the either War Room or the pod about savior chasing, and that's really what the Jets have been doing. And it's kind of one of those things that, like, I think every Jets fan knows without saying it, but then when someone says it out loud, it kind of just makes a lot of sense. You're like, oh yeah, you know what? They have done that. Like, really, since it's honestly been since Sanchez. Not, we wouldn't count him, but you go Darnold to Zach and then to Aaron. Like, they've really been savior chasing, hoping that that one guy would get them to the promised land. And Aaron Glenn saying, we're not going to do that. We're going to build this thing the right way, to your point. And it's refreshing. And I think he's the perfect blend. Like, he clearly hasn't played a game. He could flame out. I had the same belief in Saleh. I had some belief in Bowles, never had it in Gase, but like, we're going to see what happens. But the kind of guy that he is, and the blend of all things in terms of like accountability, football knowledge, like the culture that he came from, the background that he has, both from a player, scout, coach standpoint, like everything just gives you the vibes that like this is going to, it may not work right away, but that ultimately this is going to work, and he's going to be the guy that at least ends the drought and gets them back in the playoffs. If nothing else, it's just got to be time, right? Like, maybe he's not, but maybe it's just like their time and they luck into it. Who knows? But I don't know. I just have that kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's this year, but I do think it'll happen in this regime. I just, like you said, eventually things have to even out. I mean,
It has to, right?
the Knicks just made it. They just were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they've been 25 years. I mean, I'm hoping that this drought doesn't last 25 years, and I don't think it will. But I think that just like I said, the entire approach, the operation is just the right way to go, given where they came from. And there's no more like this person's just going to fix everything. That's just not how it works in mostly in all of sports, but especially football when there's literally 11 guys on the field at a time, and it's obviously a huge coaching staff, and it's so much that goes into the preparation and game planning every single week. So it's just nice to see that they are trying to build it like a normal adult NFL franchise. Whether it works, that remains to be seen, but it's at least something to root for. And the hope is that AG can really, get the fan base behind him. Because believe me, there were plenty of people that weren't super thrilled that they hired another defensive coach. And I get that sentiment. I was very much like, let's get an offensive coach, but I just wanted a coach. Someone who's just an NFL coach. Doesn't matter what their side of the ball is and what their philosophies are, as long as they win games. So but yeah, what question you got for me? I feel like I asked you a ton of questions. You got to give me some.
So talk to me. Let's kind of piggyback on that. I'll take it a step further. So let's go 1 through 10, right? What's your confidence level that this is the season the Jets actually break the streak? 2025.
It's not that high. I'd say like 4. I don't think the schedule is super daunting. It's just like I don't know what Justin Fields is going to be. It's like there is that high ceiling that maybe he could be this year's version of Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. The last 3 years has been like one guy that was kind of a cast off who bounced around and finally, broke out as the guy that, everyone thought they could be. But I have to see it from Fields. I just think he's so electric as a runner, but we haven't seen enough as a passer. Whereas with the other guys, I feel like we saw more consistent play from the pocket than him. But that's why I say a 4. I don't think it's impossible, but I'm not. I need the receivers are just not good enough for me to believe that. I think the defense will be a lot better. I think the defense will be much more comparable to what we saw in 2022 and 2023. Not necessarily at that level, but I think it won't be as bad, especially in the run defense like it was in 2024.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm a little more optimistic than you. I'm probably around like a 5 or a 6. I think the early part of the season is extremely important. I think if they can get out to like an unexpected start and kind of be either in that like 3-3, 4-3 range, like, and they have a little bit more success, that's something that maybe that they can build on. And they're like, okay, maybe we are a little bit better than people thought. And I think that could carry them the rest of the way. I think this could be a sneaky good year. I do draw comparisons to 2009. I'm not saying they're going to make a conference championship run, but let's be honest, that team wasn't really good enough to make the conference championship. That was a mid team that got hot at the right time and caught a few, lucky breaks that had a very good defense and a good run game. And ultimately, made some plays to get there in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. But I do think that I don't want to discount how, I want to put this the right way. I'm not overhyping them, but I don't think this is a bad roster. I think it's a good roster that had pieces that underperformed with a 40-year-old quarterback last year that kind of ran it like an AAU team. So, and I want to also like remember that they were in a lot of games. Like we lost a lot of close games last year. So
yeah,
as bad as 2024 was, like there were still pieces that were there. And I think with a change in coaching, a change of quarterback, and a few things that go the right way, maybe we're a little bit just feistier and we punch above our weight class a few more times and you get a few breaks that go your way.
It's funny when you were talking about the parallels to other past Jets teams were surprised. I thought you were going to say 2006, not 2009. I feel like this team has more 2006 energy just because 2009, I get what you were saying that we didn't expect them to go to the conference championship game based on how the previous season ended, but they were 8-3 until Brett Favre tore his biceps. So their team had a lot more talent than we gave it credit for. But again, you didn't know what the quarterback play was going to like because it was a rookie quarterback who, let's be honest, he wasn't really good until the playoffs. He just kind of kept them afloat at that point. He had some moments, but for the most part, he was underwhelming. He threw a lot of interceptions. But I think there is a path, certainly. I need to see what the quarterback plays will be like. I need to see how these receivers perform. But I do think that there will be some positive regression for the defense going back in the direction that we saw in 2022 and 2023, like I said. So
I would hope so.
There has to be.
All right. So let's we'll kind of take that one a step further then. So talk to me about the biggest like positional group or just biggest thing that gives you the greatest pause about this season, like that worries you the most going into 2025?
I mean, I've definitely brought it up. It's for the receivers. They're not. It's really Garrett Wilson, and then a glorified tight end who's just on the team because they don't want to. They have to pay him anyway, and then a bunch of young, unproven players. That's really where the concerns lie. I'd say that and safety, just because I think I like the Cisco signing, but again, he's like an okay player. He's not like this like elevator. They didn't bring in who's the guy Xavier McKinney who was on the Giants, who was like a big free agent signing for the Packers last year. It's like, but again, I think safety play isn't as important in the modern NFL. I mean, obviously it's scheme dependent. In the previous scheme, it wasn't. But receivers, it's just I have a hard time seeing them being very productive outside of Garrett. I think Garrett, like if he stays healthy, which could be a lot to ask out of him with how much he's going to get like target wise, he could literally have 1,500 yards just because no one else can do anything. But what about you? What's your biggest concern from a positional group perspective?
I think you brought up good points. I think mine's probably interior D line.
I think it's
And
better than last year though, but it's not
it,
great, but it's
it's,
better.
yeah, I mean, it's hard to get worse than like Javon Kinlaw. And I can't believe the deal he got in Washington. But I feel like they also just kind of like signed, some Jags to pair with Quinnen. And I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. And I think the Jets' run defense historically has been pretty good. And up until last year, it was good. And last year it just kind of went off the rails. And that was a big reason as to why I think the defense regressed so much. So I don't know if they did enough, and I'm hoping that they did. I'm hoping that guys like Nadi can maybe step up and be the guy that we need. But it does give me, outside of the positional groups that you mentioned, outside of really receiver, I'm not as concerned about safety. I think they're going to be better at safety than we think, but interior D line and the ability to stop the run concerns me,
Yeah,
probably more so than anything else.
totally fair.
All
Okay.
right, and let's flip it. How about the one positional group or one thing that gives you the most confidence, that you're like most excited, that thinks, hey, you know what? If this group can perform the way that I think they can, maybe it gives us a better shot here.
I'm going to say the running backs. I mean, the offensive line is the easy answer, but I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think that this is going to be a run dominant football team, both from Fields, but also the backs. I do see a scenario where they're using three backs consistently. I mean, I'm not to say that I don't think Brees Hall could be the guy that we thought he could be, but he is in a contract year, and maybe they're just like, they can run him into the ground and then be like, we'll see you later. We like what we have, both in Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. So I think the running backs are going to be really nice. I'm excited. I think Joe had put out the poll of like who's your like most underrated player, and I think he's actually the most underrated player, mainly because there's not much being expected out of him, but I felt like every time they gave him opportunities last year, he was really productive. Like I think we all got super excited about Braylon Allen because of the Titans game, but then he really didn't do that much all that like down the road. I think he did a little bit in the Patriots game, but then he kind of was a ghost. But then later in the season, when Brees was a little bit banged up, he certainly was stepping up, and I like what I saw from Davis. I think that the running backs are really exciting. I think they're going to see a lot more rushing touchdowns this year. So, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think the offensive line is obvious. I think that you're going to see an improvement in cornerback this year. I think Sauce is going to have a better and bounce back year. I think getting Michael Carter back and healthy will be good. I think the question mark becomes like Brandon Stevens, Azaria Thomas, and Quantez Stiggers and how they figure in. But who knows? Like we've seen this where you kind of sign guys or draft guys that you think are going to be, the guy, and it ends up being the unexpected person that comes out of nowhere and ends up being a legit starter. So, but I'm not going to go that route. I'm actually going to say, and again, I'm a glass half full guy, but looking through this lens, like quarterback has the potential to be like a high upside position for us. And when you combine that with exactly what you just talked about, which is the running backs, the ability that Justin Fields has to run, I think could take this team to a whole nother level. And we've seen he can throw the deep ball. He does have the reputation and the relationship with Garrett Wilson. So just that ability there, I think, could be the thing that I'm not saying he's going to throw for, 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns, but does it give you the ability to be a little bit different and something that the Jets have really never had? Yes. And that could be, especially if you get the confidence going early on, like I mentioned before, could be the thing that sets them apart. And they have an extremely viable backup, which is we're not used to that. So even if he runs a lot and he gets banged up, I think Tyrod Taylor could come in and not miss a beat. And I just I like that. I feel, I don't know, oddly good about the quarterback position, and I think I'm I'm scared to feel that way, certainly, but I just think that if I'm looking through my Jets colored glasses, I do think that it's a high upside position for the Jets this year.
I know, and the thing about Tyrod is like he looked really good when he came into the Niners game when they pulled Rodgers, and he also looked really good in the Bills game when they pulled Rodgers. I
He's
mean,
the only reason they scored points.
it's kind of funny. So yeah, I mean, if something does happen in the field and he has been banged up in his career, I feel like the offense will be fine, at least if it's only for a couple of games. But again, you can't really rely on Tyrod for a full 17 game schedule. So yeah, I see that, but it's been a long time since we had this
Mhm.
conversation about this team. I know you've been texting me a lot about the Knicks. I'm sure I'll be texting you about the Mets a little
Yeah,
bit, but
it's I'll tell you what, man, you like obviously I'm a diehard Jets fan over everything else. I used to be a diehard Knicks fan when I was a kid. Like I cried when Reggie Miller scored 11 points in 9 seconds. And so, but like you've gotten me back into the Knicks, and obviously them being good in playoff basketball is fun, but it also just proves to me why I can't legitimately have like more than one team that I am diehard for, because
yeah.
my heart can't take it, man. It is way too much on everything there. It's stressful. I tell you, it's it's a whole nother level if you and I don't know if I have the time or the energy to invest in that now, but it's fun when they're good. It really is. And if they didn't lose game one, I think it would have been a whole different series, and it would
Don't
have been fun to talk about them going to the finals.
let's not talk about
I'm
this
sorry, man.
anymore.
I know.
But imagine having that level of stress watching a Jets game. That'd be great. I mean, it would actually be really nice to see
I
one
know.
day.
I live for that feeling of Rex throwing his headset because of an Antonio Brown completion. Like I want to be back there again.
Oh my
I'll take
god.
that pain. I'll sign up for that pain. Just get me back to the conference championship.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we all thought that it wouldn't be we'd be doing it every year, and it evaporated very quickly. So, two
15
final
years.
quick ones.
Yeah.
Will Aaron Rodgers be starting against the Jets week 1 this year?
Yes.
Okay,
You?
I agree, but
Yeah.
like it's kind of insane that he hasn't signed yet. I don't really know what the hell he's doing.
I don't know
And
either.
secondly, who will be the surprise cut on cut day? Who will be
Oh,
somebody that you don't expect to be cut? I
Jesus.
know I'm throwing you on the. This is the
You
last
really
one.
are. I want to look at the roster. I want to answer this. Oh boy. I don't know. Like,
I'll give you one.
go ahead. Let
Mal-
me think about it.
Malachi Corley.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like I know that this team has no talent at receiver, but like I feel like he just didn't show anything, and this regime has no ties to him whatsoever. So I could easily see him being cut.
Agreed. I could honestly like my mind went to Jeremy Ruckert, just because like that's kind of the same thing. Like a guy that really hasn't produced to the level that he should for being a third round pick that this regime has no real ties to. Like they got that other guy back in there that's competing. Like he's really a blocking tight end / H back. Like, is he a guy that could be on the outside looking in? I don't know. I would love to say that Clemens would be an unexpected cut, but
I feel like we
that'd be
all
nice.
expect him to be cut, but he'll still be on the team
He'll
because
be
they just
he'll
need
be an
bodies.
unexpected, yeah, remaining
I
guy.
was I was counting down for them to cut him like as soon as free agency opened, and he wasn't on the team to clear
I
space. But
I want to look through this and see. I'm looking at the roster as to who else I could think.
I was sad that Morstead's gone. That was a
Yeah,
little
me
sad one.
too. But
But
you know
again, there were
what? Like, save money. How old was he? 40?
I think so. I think he was, believe it or not, the second oldest guy on the team behind Rodgers. So
Yeah. I mean, Xavier Gibson he may not be long for this life here at one Jets
I
guy.
think one of him or Corley will be gone. I don't
Yeah,
think
you're
that both of
probably
them will make
right.
the roster. Like we
I'm
don't need short receivers who can't do anything. Like we need guys who actually can do something.
I love it.
No,
It's
I
blunt. No, it's you're absolutely right.
I'm 6 feet tall. The receivers on the team should not be smaller than me.
It's
Like,
a
it
good point.
shouldn't be. Like it's crazy. Oh, so
Yeah,
what
I'm trying to look through. I don't think I see any other that would like really be surprise cuts.
we got one in the chat from kid from Kevin. He said Tony Adams for unexpected cut. That's actually a
That's
good one.
that's not a bad one either.
I think he'll be on the team though.
Bubble wrap Tony.
Yeah,
I think
bubble
just
wrap.
because of the weakness at the position overall, he'll probably find his way to stay on the roster. But I wouldn't guarantee him a starter spot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. But that's a good one, Kevin. I appreciate that one. But closing thoughts as we move towards minicamp.
It was good to get back, man. It's been a while. Life gets in the way. It's crazy. Youth
Yes.
sports, kids, work, everything is nuts. But it was good to get back and talk Jets football with you. I miss you, man, and it's been good to get back. So
Yes.
appreciate it. Let's keep doing it.
Yes, we will. It may not be as consistent, but we will do it. We promise. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. We appreciate you. We will try to get these up and running all the time, especially as the season gets closer. Make sure to subscribe to Badlands on Patreon. Best premium Jets content you'll have on the internet. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/at BadlandsTOJ. You get this show. You get plenty of snippets from Badlands. You get a lot of YouTube shorts from Badlands as well. And yeah, we just appreciate everyone who's been asking us where we've been, but we're back right now. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys soon.